Welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes of Wisdom, a channel dedicated to helping you expand your knowledge and develop a more successful and peaceful mind. My guest today is a very smart man. He is an elite computer programmer, currently working for Microsoft, and the founder of the Light Circle. Welcome to the show, Emmanuel Bergerat. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, very briefly, when we first met, you were a very different person, and we didn't meet in very good circumstances, so we didn't really have a chance to kind of really get to know each other because other people were around, mainly our ex-girlfriends. Okay, so
Yeah, let's put it that way.
mainly, right? So we had this kind of weird dynamic at first, and so I'll say from my point of view that when I met you, I said, this guy's a very intelligent man, really nice guy, sharp dresser, seems like a good guy, but, someone I could never be friends with. So,
Yeah, well, hopefully I was, like you said, I was more interested in getting to know you better, but yeah, we're both girlfriends, exes being in business together and with their own, the way they were, it was a bit difficult to get to know each other. So I was kind of positive, but on the other hand, I felt like, okay, not interested, it's okay. But also, I think I was pretty different even in my behavior. It's not that I was not interested or compassionate, but it was something that I was looking for at the time.
saw your I don't know what the right words to put it in, but I saw you say transition of you really developing, let's say, an internal side to you that when we first met wasn't as awakened or as developed, and I got to see you kind of very quickly catch on to and develop, get into, let's say, self-development, to put it, I
Hmm.
don't know, in a mild way, and really, really interesting. You're, I would say, an expert in Neale Donald Walsch's writings, Conversations with God, having read, the only person I know who has read all of his books. So maybe just talk maybe a little bit about that.
Well, the thing is, I always looked for who I was. So I started in France, following from a high society family. I mean, with nobility and stuff like that. Like I don't know, we could trace back the family for hundreds and hundreds of years. This kind of environment where it was more about duty than love, and love was something like nice to have if possible, but it was not really what was bringing everybody together. So I was in this world, and I followed the rules more or less. I think I was tough on my parents, and I thank them for being patient with me. And then I followed, been to the best universities in France, get one of the best diploma you can get from France, and wanted to go elsewhere. So I moved abroad, worked and lived in a few countries. But there was always this. I followed the I would say the path. Big company, well, big diploma, big company, beautiful wife. Even if at the time I was kind of, I don't know if I will ever find someone who loves me. That was a bit the thinking at the time. And so when this beautiful ex-actress fell in love with me, I was kind of, wow, awesome. And then I followed. The world and the environment she was in was very appealing too. So I followed up that till I arrived here in Canada. I always knew there was something, I don't know, some kind of challenges ahead because I knew I was not very compassionate and empathetic with people. It was not really my thing. I actually pushed that up to having my wife, ex-wife now, managing all my relationships with my friends and my family. I was not involved in all that. And then um, I got all I wanted. I mean, technically speaking, I would say physically speaking, I had all I wanted. 3 BMW, great kids, great wife, great company, great job, making a lot of money. And after a year, everything collapsed. I was so miserable and unhappy. So I was, when we met, uh, still into this spiral of these things a few years later. So I always looked for something different. I was looking for others to actually bring me stuff. For instance, my ex-wife is very social. She goes to everybody, talks to everybody. She's very into that thing, which is almost the opposite of me. She was also pretty good at managing money, which was not my case. So I kind of found someone that could, I would say, do stuff I was not very good at, but actually I realized in time, take care of stuff I didn't care because I was not, I don't know, brave enough to face them. But actually, after that, when we separated and everything that followed, the divorce and a lot of other stuff, I was still in this mindset. I met a girl a few years later that was really great with the boys and was actually kind of, for me, it was a little bit like the same. Like, okay, she's gonna take care of the kids, I can take care of me, and it didn't work. And that was the second time I heard the same thing. And then the girlfriends we met from, the one I was with, at the last minute, after almost 3 years together, she told me the same thing and decided not to live together. So that's where I was kind of hammered and hammered again. Yeah, I was feeling like I was hitting a glass ceiling of something that was not there within me. So after years of psychotherapy, actually, my ex-wife told me, because we had a big talk after having three women I loved tell me the same things. She suggested go to something that makes less sense for your mind. You go and don't think, just go and feel what happens. So I followed that advice, and I've been there, I would say, without expecting anything. And that's how I met Emanuela, that we both know now. And that's where I added to my, I would say, mind and spirit processing something deeper, and that's how it started.
Yeah. Okay. Well said. You and I both know, and we've discussed this before. It's kind of we attract like what we feel we deserve. We attract what we have these ideals in our head, the way someone should be, or how much love basically we can let into our heart, how much love we have to give. So these kind of things that match up, right, vibrationally. So it can be
Yeah,
difficult.
I I'd say now I'm more into well, first thing is if you want or need something, you're wrong. It's something you either not gonna get it, and if you get it, you're gonna want something else. It's an endless spiral that is not gonna bring you the happiness and the strength within that is actually the only thing that you really need. So as soon as you start to want or need something, that means you miss it. That means it's something you don't have, and that you need that to be happy. And the problem is that means you need something external to you. And to your other point is what I really think and believe now is you attract who you are. And sometimes you attract what you want. And I did that once. I've dated a woman that was on paper had everything I wanted, and the universe said it to me. She was smart. She was making as much money as me, which is unusual. For me, it was the first, and she had everything. She was, I mean, a PhD, an MBA. She's VP in a big company. I was like, wow, that's what I wanted on paper. But she was missing something. There was something. There's always something missing when you want something and you work to get it. So it's external, and that's the problem. So that's where I started to look inside. And actually, now that I follow my intuition, my spiritual guides, my life flow. And every time I have fear or anxiety for something that is not going to work, or that is not going in, that is frightening me a little bit, uh, they always come back with a lesson to me that you shouldn't have been afraid. You still don't learn. So yes, I'm learning.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And I'm a firm believer in that too, where there's a line from a movie that's just the worst ever that says, "You complete me," right? And that should never be the case. Like, you should be full and complete by yourself and then meet somebody else, hopefully, that's full and complete by themselves.
Yeah, well, I was in this mindset even before when I was with the two girls I've lived with after my divorce, and I thought I was there, but I was not. I was not because if you think you're complete based on what you achieved, the job, the money, owning a house or whatever, this is external. The completeness is within, and it is always here. It's just you to look inside, and that's really the main key that I discovered. Um, the first session I did with this light worker that we both know and that my ex-wife recommended, said few words and said, "Hey, this is what happened. This is why you're like this. This is why you're like that." And all of a sudden, uh, I started to cry for 10 minutes just by one sentence by someone I just met 1 hour ago. And that's where I realized, yeah, okay, there's way more to us than we can really consciously understand.
Yeah, well said. Well, that's it too, is like how to define complete and what is really complete. I don't ever say that I am complete yet. Maybe one day. It's kind of like the pursuit of completeness, like the pursuit of happiness, where it's something we can strive towards. But I think it's well said what you were discussing before, saying we might think that external things complete us, and they don't. Right? It's not the money, it's not the big house, it's not the great car that's completing us.
Yeah, and back to your little hint on Neale Donald Walsch. What he says is, well, if you think your life is about get the job, get the car, get the woman, and get the house, and then what happens is get the new job, get the bigger car, get the best wife, and it's endless. And he's a very impressive example of that. I mean, he's been married 8 times. I don't know how you can do that, but 8 times. And he said, when you do that, it's completely out of. You're never going to reach anything. It's like people that are doing competition and they want to be the best regional, then the best provincial, then the best national, then the best international. And then even when it happens to them, if ever, first they sacrifice everything else because they think they need that to exist or to fulfill something. And then if they ever get it, then what's next?
Mm.
What's left is what was always here, which is people and how you behave, who you are being when you touch others. That's really the key that I've learned these last few years.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Well, that's it. It's developing those things that we don't see with our eyes and hear with our ears and taste and touch with our senses. It's those developing the internal things inside ourselves, inside our heart, inside our mind, that's really of value, right? And that's when we talk about that completeness or that
Yeah,
these.
I see the I would say I believe we're all complete. We have everything. We have a path that our soul chose and want to experience through us in this life. We have spiritual guides that are here. I read about people that actually plan accidents that make them uh, completely handicapped so that they can't even use their arms or legs. And it's because their souls chose that so that they can go within. Because the previous lives they had, they were not going within, they were all chasing these external things. And the soul said, it's enough. And this time I need to go within. And when you go within, then you can go external too. It is a byproduct of how you behave. And every day, even at the job, I have experiences of that. Uh, I don't really understand what I changed in my behavior, and but you see that more than me. But what I really think is I changed my belief about what life is about, what we are all about, and it changes everything: my behavior, what I say, how I talk, how I take any events, and that's really what I came to is. Um, what you believe you experience. So if you believe you're a soul incarnated that has eternal life and death is just a transition like birth is from the spiritual to the physical and death the opposite, when you believe in that, nothing can touch you. Nobody can really harm you because you can't harm anybody. And it's a little bit like one of the message Neale Donald Walsch have, but few others. And the more I grow spiritually, which I believe is the aim of our, I would say, journey in our lives in this physical form, it's spiritual growth, evolution, to understand that there's only love and fear in this world, because there's only love in the spiritual world. So you don't know what love is if you can't have the chance to choose differently, and that's why all our souls comes in the physical. They can choose every time fear or love, and every decision in your life is either intrinsically coming from this or the other. Fear makes you feel apart, make people a little bit more distant. It's the us versus them. And love is we're all the same. It's gathering. It's getting a family rebuilt. It's getting people closer to you. This is everything that brings to you. And it's really the only two ways to live and decide. Doesn't mean I do that 24 hours. I mean, it's tough. But if I already reach love-based decisions 15 minutes a day, I'm super happy.
Yeah, that would do. That's, I mean, wow, that's really, really well said. I must say, really well said. There's two things I would say on that. One is Dr. Wayne Dyer had this book called "You'll See It When You Believe It," right? Which is really powerful, and that's kind of what you're talking about. The other thing I think that's makes it really interesting or so powerful, hearing it come from you, is that it's easy when you hear some hippie person that's never had more than $5 in their pocket saying love and peace and love. It's very different when, from your point of view, that you have, as you said, you had the money, have the cars, have the house, and then you say, okay, now what, right? What do I want? Do I really want a bigger house? Do I want more cars, faster cars? It's nice to see from that point of view that you've gotten to that and say, oh yeah, and then you wake into that realization. Some people never wake into that realization, right? They just keep chasing.
Absolutely. But that's why they come back into lives and lives and lives until they really understand what it is about. And their lives is actually, I would say, they get more and more push from their spiritual guides to go on the path. And what I understand is we're entering I would say, a period on Earth where you won't be allowed to not awaken in a way or another, because the others are awakening, and that's why most of souls are coming here on Earth now, because the Earth is not going to be able to support people that just don't understand that it's not about how to survival. It is not where we are anymore. And there's more and more people like you, me, and few others from the Light Circle, for instance, but everywhere, that's saying, well, yes, life is not about survival. If you start to, again, when I said what you believe you experience, if you start to realize, and if everybody teach you, that's what I teach my kids now, that you're an eternal soul incarnated to get an experience here, that your soul is tuning the path of this life you're having and the experience you have regularly with the spiritual guides that help you build and design this life to learn lessons that are to push you through spiritual evolution and growth for you, your life is completely different, because you understand that you're here to choose every minute of your life if you want to express love or fear, if you want to kill the other or hug him. If the other kills you, you just go back in the
Mm.
spiritual. If you die, it doesn't matter.
Yes, but see those beliefs, Emmanuel, again, every time you're saying a lot of great points in one shot. Two points that I want to make that you brought up. One is survival. Survival of the fittest, survival mode. Now, survival mode is scarcity mode. Scarcity mode is the opposite of abundance. An abundance mode is in harmony or flow with nature, being that there's an abundance of air, abundance of water, abundance of stars, of everything is in abundance. Nature is abundant. So survival, if your brain, and again, fear mode is also fear mode. Putting yourself in survival mode is a limiting mode, is a fearful mode. Is not good. So has to stop. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is like what you said, that if you believe, most people, I would say, believe death is bad. And I don't believe death is bad either. I see it like you. It's just a transition out of this, flesh body back to the spirit world. So when you have that perception, that changes everything. I mean, right there, you
Yeah,
get the way you're going to live and everything.
it's really about not being afraid, and not being afraid means being in touch with your essence, your soul, and that is within.
Again, very wise, bro. I completely agree. And again, it changes everything. It changes your outlook. It changes how you behave towards yourself, towards others, and your day-to-day mentality. Right? When you believe in
Mhm.
these certain things, but I find it's a shame that a lot of people are misled by media, by other sources to believe these things that are, I think, served humanity possibly very well at certain times in history, but maybe don't serve us as well
Uh,
anymore.
yeah, well, I'm a big fan of history of science. I mean, I have a master of science on physics and a few other stuff in this field, and I'm an engineer, even if now I'm doing computer software, but there's still some engineering, a lot of math, and I'm able to get that. I love the history of science. I always wanted to understand how did we discover the things that were learned, how this Ampere and few others and Einstein and few others get to that. And when you start to understand that, you understand a few things. First is we don't know much. How can we assess what we know compared to what is to be known? I mean, 100 years ago, we didn't know anything about DNA, about the atom, and what we can do with it, and the fact that the matter and the energy are the same thing, which is the E equals mc square formula. And so 150 years ago, the guys from my school, engineering school and university couldn't even study that. My grandfather was on my mother's side was a big very important guy in France, and he was also an engineer, scientific. And when I was talking with him when I was a teenager, what he was telling me is the most difficult is to stay up to date. He was in charge of all the army equipment for all the French army, and he said, really trying to understand what is the good direction to go, where to put some money, where not to put some effort, is the most difficult because the science changed all the time. And he studied. He had his engineering diploma in the 20s, 1920s, and of course in the 1970s everything was different. That's why I realized it's a process. Even science is a learning process, a learning curve, and everybody's saying, "Oh, if it is not scientifically proven, it doesn't exist." I think is very well mistaken of how science
Yes.
works and where it comes from.
Exactly. I mean, again, if you think of if you take a lighter, just a regular lighter or Zippo, and you go back a few hundred years and you do it, they're going to think you're a magician.
Yeah, exactly. You
This
are.
guy's
You are.
magic, magic, right? Electricity was always there. We
Yeah.
just didn't know how to harness it,
We don't
right?
even knew it exists.
There you go. Until you did. And now, I mean, again, it's magic. I mean, it's magic until you put this label on this. I still think it's magic, but it's magic,
It is.
until you put this label on this thing. And then once you can explain it in a book and say, AC and DC current, and now, okay, now it's science. It's okay, it's okay. So I think that a lot of spirituality and science is catching up to prove the spirituality, and that's why I've always I often mention Dr. Joe Dispenza, who
Mhm.
proves these spiritual concepts through scientific methods, which is very interesting, and
Yeah, it is.
it's catching up.
Absolutely.
I think there will be a day where they can prove the soul. I think there will be a day where they can, maybe photograph our guides, or there's Carillion photography that
Mhm.
photographs our auras, and there's people that still don't believe we have auras or we're energy beings. It's just weird.
Yeah, but it's based on what they've been taught at school. Everything's there.
Mm.
It is. If you teach to every kid at the age of, I don't know, 10, 11, actually earlier it would be better, that he's a soul incarnated for an experience of opposites: love, fear, black, white, hot, cold, tall, small, etc. And then he's here for this experience, and you just teach him that. It's 1 hour lesson, and if you do that before the age of 7 or 8, they still remember their previous life, by the way. Then it hit them. When I told my boys a few years ago, "Hey, we're gonna go to church now," my younger one, he was probably 4 or 5 at the time, told me, "Oh, cool! I love God. I met him. He's great." I was like, "What's going on?" And yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, actually, knowing his life and his health issues when he was young. I'm not surprised. He probably had talked to know if does I stay in the body or do I go back to another life later or something like that. He probably had these talks. So for them, it's natural. They don't dismiss it. And after that, well, we do, because we think we can prove it. But I would say we can't prove yet because we
Yeah.
don't really know.
But like, again, just to prove your point, that's correct again, is just saying that between the ages of, well, 0 and 5 is children are at
Hmm.
genius level, and between 5 and 10 still, but slowly descend every year, and then after 10, 11 years old and stuff like that, they're kind of now they're fully in this three-dimensional reality and have escaped that. But yeah, between 0 and 5, it's amazing some of the things. If you ask children the right questions, the answers you'll get are astounding. you know.
Yeah, and they get it way more than you think. I mean, sometimes they told me stuff that I was like, oh, and they can get stuff that are very, very well seen. So yeah, so I think if you just do that, then the world can change in 20 years. Because when everybody's going to understand what's their real nature and why they're here, the entire world's going to change. You can't get these few happy that keep for themselves, and all the others that are dying in Africa, in India, in Asia, by any disease you can find. And that's probably, I mean, if you're outside of the Western society, and within this Western society, you don't have, I would say, a minimum income that is probably at least the minimum income in our countries. Uh, you don't have a great life. The point is, you have a great experience of physical life. It doesn't mean it is not what you wanted,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
because you can grow your spiritual and I would say divine attitude in all contexts.
Yeah.
What really amazed me in Neil's books is God is saying in these conversations with God, you all ask the same thing because I hear all your prayers, all your human prayers, I hear them, and you all want the same thing. You want peace, you want abundance, so you don't have to be in a survival mode. I'm gonna eat tonight, which is still what 2 or 3 billions of humans are doing every day, by the way. So we can talk about our billionaires in the US, but there's 2 to 3 billions people that every day wonder how they're gonna eat. Is it really how we can treat each other? I don't think so. And there's enough food on the earth, by the way. If you believe that, or if you believe that, okay, whatever happens, it's an experience. It's something that is here to grow, to help me grow, and to help me choose between fear and love. And understand that because I have the choice, I can realize what it is.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being compassionate and being weak. I think it's the opposite. When you're compassionate, you're not weak. You say the same thing, but you say it differently.
Yeah.
Like I said, I told my kids, they love, well, their grandparents, sorry, grandparents, so their mothers, parents, they loved the Apprentice show. That's where I've learned about it a few years ago. And they were like, oh, our grandfather loves when you say, you're fired. And it was kind of, yeah, but this is the best example I can find. You want to do it fear survival mode, you're fired, everybody laugh, it's okay, it's great. You want to do it compassionate, it's you said it differently. We can't proceed because the behaviors or what you expose is not aligned with what we want to achieve, but we're going to help you find something that is a better fit for you in another work environment, and we're going to help you there because we have some kind of, link and compassion for you. It is a different story, same fact, complete different story. One is fear, one is love.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I see this every day in my life with people around me, and I say the same thing. Well, why do you choose to say it in this manner? Why don't you choose? Because, as you said, why don't you choose to say the same thing in a different, more compassionate way with the same result, but not come off so rude? And I see it all the time. People interacting, not usually towards me, but towards each other. They're coming off as so rude, and I always know, and like any intelligent person would, is there's like three options at least. There's probably 12 or 15, but three immediate options: the nice way, compassionate, loving way, which I normally choose; the more abrupt, direct; and then there's just being a jerk way of saying it, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
being outright rude. It's the vibrational level that they're at. And when you treat somebody else with disrespect, with lack of compassion, as you said, with lack of love, it's just showing that you don't love yourself, and it's bringing negative energy towards yourself. That's all it is.
Maybe I would say more like, if you already, first step is if you realize you could do differently. That is not your real nature. If it would be awesome. Problem is nobody is really thinking that. Like I said, like we discussed before, if you want the medal, if you want the score, if you want to be number one or number two, where our entire society is based on competition. And everybody tells you competition is good. Well, competition is just driving us to burn the earth faster and faster every day than the day before until it's unlivable for the human beings.
Mm.
So if we believe that billionaires are so great that they help us go in space and survive in space, I'll tell you, with the billions they have, we can fight and get rid of hunger. We can feed everybody. Just saying, I'm not sure it's the right priorities for the moment.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, you see that thing in the states. They spend what they spend on military compared to healthcare. What they spend on military compared to education. What they spend. And it's like, well, then they're saying, well, what is the statistic? 90% of people die from either um, cancer or heart problem, right?
Mhm.
But they put all their money on military. There's a misappropriation of funds and misappropriation of priorities. Okay, so Emmanuel, wonderful, wonderful points you brought up. Before we go, can you tell the listener a little bit about the light circle?
Yes, thank you. So from everything I expressed and from my own journey, I realized that the divine and the spiritual is everywhere. I even actually felt my spiritual guides physically a few times to avoid me doing some stuff that were really not on my path. Like I literally vomited until I decided to take another path and another direction, and all of a sudden it was all over, and it was clear for me. I was guided, and they can physically interact with us. So when I realized all that, it's what you believe, what our real essence is, what life is about, and actually life is about the same thing for all of us. All of us are here to experience the opposite, to realize what it means to love, or through the possibility to choose fear in our decisions. I realize that this is something that is not really widely spread and that most people don't even really talk about. When I started a few years ago to say to my friends or colleagues, yeah, I believe in God and I go back to church now, they looked at me as if I was crazy. Well, there's, I think, 85% of the humans on this earth right now believe in a God in a way or another. Why am I so different? Because I'm just saying it? So that's why I realized people are afraid to say things. But come on, Oprah Winfrey is saying that all every day. A lot of others are saying it, and a lot of people go to churches or synagogues or temples or whatever. It's something we can't say, we can't really share. So I decided when I bought my new house, there was enough space in the basement to have meetings of 20, 25 during the winter, which is something around here. And so I got the intuition, let's do meetings there. And that's how I started the Light Circle. It's a place where we usually share a potluck before we start to discuss more spiritual things. And it's a place where people that want to understand more about spirituality and divine and what it could look like for themselves can come and come with their questions or listen to others. And then after that, we usually have 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, where we talk about a topic. We've been lucky to have you making a talk for us a few months ago. We also have others coming with contents that they read or they understood. We also get some people channeling few messages. So this is what the Light Circle is about. It's all about the fact that our real nature is not what we see or touch. We are not our body. Our body is something we have to get the experience our soul decided. And what is absolutely incredible is we have free will as personality to go through this path or deviate from it. And I did. When it deviates too much, your soul and your spiritual guides intervene, like I had a few times, at least 3 times in my life. They actually made me physically change course.
The Light Circle, a safe space,
Mhm.
for everyone to speak their mind and to learn and to grow together and to have those questions answered. And it's really nice. It's kind of like a book club, but more for vibration and spirituality.
Absolutely, and it's funny because few of the members came, and the vibration was so high that they couldn't cope. I mean, we have one member who 3 times had to either go away or feel bad, or and then now it's okay. But at the beginning, it was too elevated, and it's okay. Everybody's own experience. Really, what shocked me for a long time, especially when I was in all my Catholicism years, this idea that love, God is love, but you have to do this and not that. I was like, something was not resonating. Something was wrong in this idea. And what Neil's and my experiences and the stuff I did since with medium and energy work and my own gift just shown me that, yeah, God is unconditional love, that it is our essence, and we're here to experience what it means.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, well, you said it. You can't have it both ways. You can't be unconditional love, but you must follow these rules and doctrines,
absolutely,
or he does not love you anymore.
yeah,
Not be both. It must be one or the other.
yeah, I have, and there's examples of that every day. I mean, one of the boys I love, we got him didn't behave in a very nice manner with us recently, and I was kind of okay. We don't receive what we give, but then I realized doesn't matter. The way he receives it is his way. But does it has to be because I don't get something or don't even have a thank you for a gift? Does it mean I have to just dismiss? No, it was given. He does whatever he wants with it. And will I give him again? Yes, because he's a guy I love. And I also learned these last few years that love is what we have and what we are and all there is. But in the physical form here as human, it's also something we decide.
Mhm.
And that's one of the books from Scott Peck that I read few years ago that is unbelievable about that. And it's funny because in the books of Neale Donald Walsch, God talks about this sentence. He said, I inspired that to this author because this is the real truth. Love is something you are in your essence and that you decide.
Emmanuel, I think we'll stop here for this session. Would absolutely love to have you on in the future, so you'll come back in a
Sure,
little,
I'll be
you know.
happy
Yeah,
to be more specific maybe on some of the stuff, but I'm happy I could share a little bit about what I believe in now. I didn't share everything that happened that drove me there, but I should be dead a few times and stuff like that. So it's an interesting journey.
yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, there's so much. I know you very well, and so much more you could say. But just to keep this short, that's why we'll have you on, in the future, and we'll discuss
Sure.
some more stuff. So with that, I'll wish you my classic sign off. I wish you a successful and peaceful mind and a wonderful night. And we'll talk super soon.
Thanks a lot, Andrew, and I hope it helped some people. And by the way, if you end up watching that, it is not a coincidence. Have a great night. See you
Well
soon,
said.
Andrew. Bye.
Okay, ciao, man.